Welcome to our class on using custom sound libraries in Finale. These are the topics we'll be covering in this class. I'm not going to read them all. They're all in the jump index on the YouTube description. You can pause here if you'd like to read the list. Finale supports Garritan premium libraries and its human playback techniques. Keyswitches work out of the box when installation and setup are complete for some of the libraries. Others need to have techniques added, but most common ones work immediately. In order for Finale to recognize Garritan's premium libraries as devices, the device annotation XML files need to be in place on your machine. They reside in the device annotation folder in your Finale versions folder, in the Make Music folder, in application support, in the users library folder. That's at least on the Mac. There are also sound map files that need to go in the right place. There's a link in the accompanying text to Garritan's documentation. Most technique expressions will work out of the box. In some instances, such as no vibrato flute in Garritan Personal Orchestra, you need to create a technique in Human Playback Preferences in the Techniques tab. Most are pre-configured to interpret exact text expression text keywords. In cases where your desired technique is not included in Finale's list in Human Playback Preferences in the Techniques tab, it might still be available as a key switch for the instrument, as with the non-vibrato flute sound. Garritan ships two versions of its premium libraries, Notation and Standard. Once installed, they're selectable in the ARIA player. The difference between these is the MIDI note location of the key switches. The Notation version puts them 5 octaves below middle C, at MIDI notes 0, 2, 4, 5, 7, 9, and 11. That translates to C-2, D-2, etc. on the keyboard. The key switch references in the Garritan manuals for each instrument are for the standard, that is the performance version, which are just below the instrument's playable range on the keyboard for easy access during a live performance. These don't work in Finale. Finale specifies its key switches in Human Playback Preferences in the Techniques tab, and also lists them on its website, but only by MIDI note number. In the Finale app itself, they're referred to as key switch number. Remember that key switch number equals MIDI note number. Downloading the Garritan manual for your library will show you all the techniques available for all instruments in the library. You can get a hint as to what the Finale key switch number will be by looking at the keyboard key. Any C in the manual will translate to C-2, that is MIDI note 0 for Finale's purposes. Once you know the key switch number that will call it up in Finale, you can create a human playback technique for it, specifying the sound you want via its key switch number. For example, you can create flute no vibrato with key switch number 2, and that'll trigger it. All key switch samples are preloaded in the ARIA player, waiting to be triggered. If the sample or technique isn't in the available key switches, but you can find it as an independent sample in the same library, then you'll want to create a multi-technique device with one bank containing samples for numerous specialized techniques. We're going to fill up the ARIA player with some violins here. Let's start out with the key switch violins. There's a lot of techniques available in this. It's a very flexible instrument. If you're just going to load up one, this would be the one. And let's put in some other special techniques that aren't available via key switch. This isn't in the key switch set, but it's one that we're going to probably want to use, etc. Save the bank in the ARIA player for reuse later if you want. This goes into the com.plog.aria folder. There's the file path on the Mac. Give it a name and save it. Now we're going to bring our new bank into a score that we've been working on. Start in the score manager, and this is the current assignment for violins 1. So we're going to change the bank on this to next available. That's going to put it in an empty new bank. And we'll go into MIDI audio, audio units, banks, and effects. Okay, there's the new bank. So let's edit the bank. And there's the existing sample that we've been using. Now we're just going to load our created string bank, violin section techniques. There they all come. So now that we have the bank set up, let's create some expressions to change the sound. I learned something interesting about these To set a channel change for playback, the channel numbers are absolute. They go from 1 to 128. So since this is bank 3, the 5th slot, we got to count 5 up from this little guy here, because all these numbers are absolute. Here's a table showing all of them. Let's see how it sounds. That's the before. That's the after. Nice, huh? Native Instruments Kontakt Player is a sampler rack of up to 8 stereo multitimbral instruments. It's a resource-efficient means of getting a lot of additional sounds into Finale for playback. For pitched instruments, just add the player as a device in the score manager. Click Edit Player and add your instruments in the available slots. MIDI channel assignments should update automatically. If you don't hear any sound, that'd be the first thing to check. Most Finale human playback data should work out of the box with your Kontakt library. If it doesn't, it's a question of finding out which controller is not communicating and restoring the communication by assigning that controller to the correct knob in the Kontakt player. There are 3 configuration issues in Kontakt that you may need to address: key switches, percussion maps, and expression controllers. The first issue that presents itself is key switches. Your violins won't go to pizzicato, for example, or your trumpets won't go to mutes. You can edit them either on the Finale side in Human Playback Preferences in the Techniques tab, or you can fix them on the Kontakt side. We suggest leaving the Finale side alone, particularly if you have any Garritan instruments still active in your score, or you want to avoid breaking things for future projects. In Kontakt, hit the wrench icon, then the Group Start Options tab, and set Group Starts on Key, and set it to match Finale, starting on C-2. Both between numbers should match. Go through and edit all groups accordingly so the key switches match Finale in Kontakt. For percussion instruments, in order to have them fully functional in Finale, you'll need to create a percussion layout for your particular Kontakt percussion section or drum set. Please see our complete tutorial on the subject. You can configure text expressions in Finale to transmit controller data to any controller in any instrument or effect in Kontakt. Most of the data coming from Finale will automatically go to the right place in Kontakt. If it's not, you can look up the controller number and assign it to the correct controller in Kontakt. East-West's libraries are similar to the Garritan Premium libraries in that there are multiple technique variants for all of the instruments. And also, like Garritan, Keyswitch instruments with a wide variety of technique options. Although you can edit the Keyswitch numbers in Play, they don't get down into the default human playback technique range. You'll have to create new human playback techniques targeting their default key switches and filter them by library name so they don't conflict with the default Finale set. You can also create a multi-technique device for each instrument along with the channel change text expressions to trigger them. NotePerformer installs easily and works exactly as advertised. It's a really great way to proof the articulations you've assigned to the score. It's designed primarily for orchestral and other classical music. It does handle jazz, but lacks all the jazz effects available in Garritan's jazz and big band library, like brass fall-offs, doits, and shakes. The installation is simple. Just follow the prompts. Drag NotePerformer to the top of the sound map priority list and choose Reassign Playback Sounds. It'll load automatically. Let's hear how it sounds. Thank you for watching.